nightmare is a horror story. The passion between Southeast Asian nations and horror stories collides with each other. It is still an existence that scares people to death. It has an unprecedented horror style. It is recommended that friends of Aite Dayuan watch it together. The male protagonist, Xiao Shuai, has often been haunted by nightmares since his parents died in a car accident. At night, when he heard his mother's voice ringing in his ears, he went to the living room to check. But he could only hear her voice, but not see her. At this moment, there was sudden lightning and thunder outside the house. And then a figure of Ah Piao appeared outside the window. It turned out that there was another figure. It was a nightmare. After gathering himself, Xiao Shuai took the bus to go to school. Unexpectedly, he fell into a dream again. On the way, he dreamed that his dead parents also came over and kept mumbling about saving them. There is a new transfer student in the school. The strange thing is that although it is the first time for them to meet, the girl's eyes are always fixed on Xiao Shuai. He was abandoned. He left the school because he was often cheated. During the afternoon recess, Xiao Shuai once again saw the dead souls of his parents. Just when he was about to collapse emotionally, fortunately, Wulan grabbed his hand in time and regained his composure. On the bus back, Xiao Shuai was still thinking about Wulan's identity. A man suddenly leaned against him. He tried to wake the man up, but to his surprise, the moment he touched the man's head, the whole person appeared in the darkness in the ward. He saw a couple crying in front of their child on the operating table. It wasn't until the other party turned around that they realized it was the man leaning against him. At night, Xiao Shuai applied the massage oil given by his grandfather to his neck in order to prevent him from having nightmares again. But in the middle of the night, he was woken up by a gust of wind, only to find that he was in a misty forest. He bravely groped forward and found a man whose bones were tightly bound by the roots of a tree. When he got closer, he saw that it was a daytime bus. That person, the old woman urged Xiao Shuai to leave quickly or he would die here. Unexpectedly, as soon as the man heard the song, he got rid of the tree roots like a demon and walked towards the cave. But as soon as he arrived at the cave entrance, he was suddenly pulled into the cave by a ghost hand. Seeing this, the old woman screamed loudly and stabbed her neck with a dagger. In the blink of an eye, the old woman disappeared. Xiao Shuai was also scared and hurriedly fled the scene until he was pierced by a tree stump. After wearing the body, he returned to reality. Unlike the nightmare he had before, Xiao Shuai felt that it was real, just like it happened in the real world. Sure enough, when he came to the living room, a news broadcast on TV made him sweat. The news reported that a man died strangely at home, and that man turned out to be the man Xiao Shuai met in his dream. In order to find out the truth, Xiao Shuai called his best friend Avi to come. When we arrived at the man's home, we found that his wife was crying her heart out and saying that her husband was being tortured by a vicious. After returning home, Xiao Shuai felt uneasy, puzzled by how his dream became reality. Determined to uncover the truth, he re-entered the dream. He found himself back in the forest, near the familiar cave and haunting ballad. The old man in the dead tree broke free again and approached the cave. Xiao Shuai tried to stop him, but was overpowered, watching in horror as the old man's head was thrown from the cave amid a tragic scream. As a dark shadow emerged, the oppressive atmosphere forced Xiao Shuai to flee, only to be dragged into a corner by a one-eyed old woman. Before he could question her, he was abruptly sent back with a knife and fork on him. In fact, this time when he came to the TV, the news was broadcasting a murder case in which his grandmother died tragically and her head was cut off. This made Xiao Shuai more certain that his dream was very unusual. After returning to school, Xiao Shuai told Awei what happened last night. From him, Xiao Shuai also learned that these dead people had one thing in common. They all came from a village called Bajingtu. Just when the two were a little confused, Wulan came over and said that she could communicate with spirits and see the spirits of the dead. The soul might be able to learn something from it, so they did it right away. That afternoon, several people gathered at Xiao Shuai's house to perform the soul-calling ceremony. After a while, The soul of the dead indeed possessed Wu Lan. From her mouth, they learned that the evil demon who killed people in the nightmare was named Suma. This evil demon was extremely cruel and had great magical powers. If they wanted to successfully eliminate it, they had to quickly find a person named Lan Yi and told them the detailed address. Unexpectedly, the next second, the evil demon Suma suddenly appeared and used his powerful strength to drive away the dead soul and occupy the body. After Suma vanished, leaving chaos behind, Grandpa revealed their family's connection to Yaitu, a place where people believed they were descendants of gods. Xiao Shuai's involvement stemmed from the Yaitu bloodline he carried. The next morning, they visited Aunt Lan's house, as Wang Ling had suggested, only to discover Aunt Lan was the one-eyed old woman from the dream. Before Xiao Shuai could question her, he fainted. When he woke, he was back home. Aunt Lan then revealed that Suma, once Yaitu's most powerful witch, was revered until she began killing villagers for dark rituals. A young Aunt Lan witnessed the act and exposed her. The angry villagers tied Suma to a cabin, fixing her limbs with wooden stakes. Her adopted son, powerless to save her, could only watch in despair. Weeks later, Suma was found dead, her body abandoned out of fear. Strangely, both she and the boy disappeared soon after. Aunt Lan believed Suma hid in the source of hell, using Bajing's blood to plan her resurrection. She theorized the missing boy had been aiding her. Over the years, Lan Yin sought a way to defeat Suma and eventually discovered Xiao Shuai was destined to destroy her. To do so, Xiao Shuai needed to smash her head in the dream and burn her body in reality. The machine solved the problem, but Grandpa refused to let Xiao Shuai face danger, having already lost his son. However, Xiao Shuai, feeling a heavy responsibility, gathered his friends and went to Aunt Lan's house. Aunt Lan warned that his current strength was insufficient to defeat Suma and performed a negative energy ritual for him. Suddenly, she was killed by Suma's long-lost adopted son, who slit her throat. Rushing home, Xiao Shuai found his grandfather lifeless on the bed. Touching his forehead, Xiao Shuai entered a dream, finding his grandfather's soul kneeling before Suma in a dark forest. A life and death battle ensued to rescue his grandfather's soul. As Xiao Shuai tried to escape, Suma broke free and turned into a black mist, strangling him. Grandfather attacked with a stick, managing to send Xiao Shuai out of the dream but remaining trapped himself. Determined to save his grandfather and defeat Suma, Xiao Shuai split up with his friends. Awei and Wulan set out to find and burn Suma's body, while Xiao Shuai re-entered the dream to confront her. However, Suma knocked him aside before he could act. Though Xiao Shuai briefly repelled her with red and yellow energy, the overwhelming strength difference left him injured. Meanwhile, Wulan and Awei finally located Suma's body, but just as they were about to act, when he was about to burn it, the other party's young Zijing also arrived here with a machete. Soon Awei and Wulan were beaten black and blue. At the critical moment, Awei concentrated on his life and death and hugged the man's thigh, giving Wulan a chance to burn the body. As the physical body was successfully ignited, Suma in the dream only felt a burst of heartbreaking pain. Seeing this, Xiao Shuai took advantage of the situation and picked up a wooden stick and smashed it on the opponent's head. After a while, the evil spirit was wiped out, and Yang Zi was taken away by the police. Xiao Shuai not only successfully rescued his grandfather, but also gained sweet love with Wulan. As a horror film, the entire movie can be regarded as a conscientious work in terms of style and atmosphere creation. I am Yasir Arafat. Subscribe for more interesting horror videos. See you next time.